Something like 90% of everything we use, it travels across the ocean. It's basically the invisible circulatory system of our entire global economy. But here's the thing. Right now, there's this quiet but absolutely massive power struggle happening on those waters. And it's one that could seriously change the rules for everyone. So yeah, let's dive right in.
So it really begs the question, right? Who actually controls these huge, vital highways of trade? I mean, for decades, the answer seemed pretty straightforward. But today, that very question is at the heart of this new global competition. And honestly, the answer is getting more and more complicated by the day.
All right, Section 1, a new game at sea. And really, that's the perfect way to describe it. We're talking about a high-stakes competition for control over the very arteries of global trade.
Seriously, you gotta think of it like a geopolitical chess match, playing out across the world's oceans. The two biggest players on the board, the US and China. And they are making some really bold, new moves, and the rules of the game are changing fast. Every single move creates these ripples that affect global shipping, our supply chains, and yep, even the prices we all pay for stuff.
So what's the first big move in this game? Well, that brings us straight to the United States and its incredibly ambitious new plan for the seas.
Okay, so the U.S. Coast Guard has rolled out this new strategy, and they're calling it Maritime Domain Dominance, or MDD for short. And you've really got to focus on that word dominance. See, for years, the goal was just awareness, just knowing what was out there on the water. But dominance? Whoa, that is a huge escalation. It's a massive shift from just passively watching to actively controlling the entire maritime environment end to end.
So how are they going to pull this off? Well, it's all about this detect-to-act architecture. Here's how it works. Step 1, you've got unmanned systems, drones in the sky, drones on the water, basically acting as constant eyes and ears. Step 2, all that data gets fed into these big integrated networks, creating one complete real-time picture. And then, Step 3, that's when you get coordinated action from Coast Guard cutters and aircraft. It's this seamless chain, from spotting something to actually doing something about it. And here's why this matters to, well, everyone. This isn't just some abstract military doctrine. It has real, direct consequences for global trade. I mean, if you're running a shipping company, this could mean a lot more inspections at ports. It could mean having to find totally new global routes just to avoid all this new surveillance. It basically forces you to recalculate all of your commercial risks on major sea lanes. It's a game changer.
But of course, a chess match needs two players, right? So how is China responding to this bold new U.S. posture? Well, their strategy is, let's just say it's complicated. It's this interesting mix of laying down hard new rules while also keeping the lines of communication open.
And this slide just lays it out perfectly. It's a dual strategy. On one hand, you have cooperation. You've got high-level security talks happening in Hawaii, trying to de-escalate tensions, trying to avoid any miscalculations. But on the other hand, you have competition. Beijing is putting new transport regulations in place that give them the power to retaliate against foreign shipping restrictions. It's a classic two-track approach, right? You offer a handshake with one hand while you sharpen your competitive tools with the other.
And even with all these talks, there's this one fundamental point of friction that just won't go away. China is still really resistant to what the U.S. calls Freedom of Navigation Operations, or FONOPs. That's when U.S. warships sail through waters that China claims. Beijing sees these as totally provocative. And this core disagreement, it just goes to show you how deep these strategic tensions really run.
Now, all this tension between the two big superpowers, it's not happening in a vacuum. It's creating these massive ripple effects across the globe, literally shifting the tides of trade and creating a whole new set of winners and losers.
Because here's the thing about geopolitics. Whenever you have this kind of tension, this kind of uncertainty between the major players, it always creates strategic opportunities for others. And we are seeing that play out right now, in real time.
A perfect example? Just look at the United Arab Emirates. As shipping companies and logistics firms get more and more nervous about the friction between the U.S. and China, the UAE is smartly positioning itself as this key, neutral hub. It's becoming the go-to safe gateway on those crucial Asia-Europe corridors. And what's the result? They're looking at a potential boom in transshipment volumes, a flood of new logistics investments, and way more ship servicing business.
And believe me, these ripples are hitting the market, and they're hitting it hard. This chart here, it gives you a great snapshot of just how volatile things have gotten in North American freight. You can see it in spot rates, in port capacity, and how carriers are deploying their ships. As they react to all this tension, they're constantly changing their plans, And that translates into pure uncertainty and unpredictability for any business that relies on the global supply chain.
Okay, so let's pull all these threads together. What's the bottom line here for everyone? Why do these high-level strategic maneuvers between world powers actually matter to the rest of us?
This table really nails it. It's all about strategic signals and market ripples. The U.S. launches its MDD strategy. The market ripple is increased surveillance and inspections. China puts out new regulations. That reshapes global port diplomacy. The tension between them creates an advantage for places like the UAE. And the overall sensitivity of the market, it just goes through the roof, with container flows and rates fluctuating like crazy. It's a clear, direct chain of cause and effect.
So here's the big takeaway. The unwritten rules that have basically governed the oceans for decades, they're being actively rewritten. Right now, right in front of our eyes. The game is changing, the players are making new moves, and the board itself is shifting. And that leaves us with the biggest question of all. As the rules of the sea get redrawn, what new, unforeseen ripples are we going to see next?